Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Perspective with me, Julie Ali. On today's show, it's going to be a little different. I have two amazing ladies in studio with me, and then we're also going to be talking with someone who's based in the Western Cape. She's going to zoom into the conversation. This is a partnership, and they're going to tell us why they are in studio and on Zoom with us this morning. We're going to be talking about something called South African Conversations. What is it all about? How does it impact on our lives? Should we be part of this initiative called South African Conversations? And the three ladies that are running it, I could be wrong, but I think at this point in time, three dynamic ladies running South African Conversations are Teresa Muller. She is an award-winning communications and publishing expert with over 30 years of executive experience. We also have in studio with us Hazel Naponia. She is the chief editor of the magazine South African Conversations. And last but not least, Tsepiso Kgapola Ngubeni. A very good morning to you, ladies. Welcome to the show this morning. And you're going to explain to us what exactly is South African Conversations. It's a magazine, as I understand it. I have it here on my table. There's also a resource directory. And how, with this partnership, you ladies are going to make a difference in the people's lives in South Africa. A very good morning to you, Teresa. Welcome to the program. Lovely to be talking with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity, Julie. So we are a PTY limited company, and we're a social enterprise media company. And how it all started is, or just actually, let me give you an overview of the three initiatives that we have. We have community conversations, and these community conversations are held in historically disadvantaged communities where unemployed people run the, facilitate the conversations that take place on social issues, and they get paid for their participation. We also pay videographers, etc., who participate. Then we have the monthly magazine, and I don't think you actually have a copy there because they're all in storage, the old copies, and we're starting a new chapter now. So the issue or the thing that you have on your table is probably this one, which is a copy of the resource directory. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a very thick book, and how these things fit together is that, if I can just tell you about the community conversations and how that started, we didn't want the magazine to be just a desktop exercise because we do not employ journalists. We work with content that comes from the communities, and then we facilitate that, we edit that and put it together, curate that to put it into the magazine. So we started the listening conversations in order to understand the lived reality of people who are in historically disadvantaged communities. So any situation where there are people who are marginalized is that we look at. And they started as listening sessions. And those listening sessions became little, so we would go and publish an article, and then we would put a little resource box together with each article that went into the magazine. And those articles would, or those resource boxes would give information about the resources that are available for, people in that position, from NPOs, from government programs, from faith-based programs, etc., online things that are available to provide relief for the situation that people struggle with. So whether it's orphans or knowing that you're going to die from AIDS and having to prepare a will, for instance, we would put all that information in the resource box about where you can find resources. The feedback that we got from communities, from people all over South Africa, this was the most fantastic thing they'd ever seen. And so we decided to start a little resource directory at the end of each magazine. And it quickly grew from 4 pages to 9 pages to whatever, I can't remember, but it was very clear that this needed to be a publication in its own right. So it was on the back burner for the longest time because we just didn't have the capacity to develop it. And then when COVID hit, the magazine was stopped, the community conversations were stopped, and I then started working on the resource directory, thinking that it will be probably 96 pages plus a cover, like the magazines. But it quickly grew and became this humongous book, 368 pages. Our second edition is due out towards the end of this year, and it will be much thicker than the current one. So that's a kind of overview, very briefly, of what we do.
Okay, your tagline is challenging the divide. What does that exactly mean, Teresa?
Tsepiso, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, we actually are looking at, challenging those socio-economic divides that exist in our country. We all know, our history, right? So we want to make sure that we challenge, the divide between unemployment and joblessness and, being unseen, unheard. So those are the divides that we are trying to get people together through those community conversations, especially.
Okay, and we haven't introduced the two guests in studio. We have asked Tsepiso to answer the question without introducing her to you. She is Tsepiso Kgapola Ngobeni. She's a diligent and highly motivated social worker turned entrepreneur with over 29 years experience and extensive expertise in the non-profit and government sectors. Why have you decided to join Teresa on this initiative? Why do you believe it's important?
Yeah, I believe that it's important, having worked in this field. I've worked a lot with the NGOs and in the government sector as a social worker. And so in all these years, you see the real deep issues that still exists in our communities, right? And so when I came across South African Conversations and the model that they're using in terms of, making sure that the unemployed do get this type of employment, but also giving back into the community, right? And making sure that their voices are heard. I think that for me was the pull, making sure that, a lot of the times we go to these fancy places where there's different fancy voices, but then the people on the ground, who actually need to come up with their own solutions, right, don't get those opportunities. So this is why I then saw this opportunity to come in and say, I can work with this.
And you believe you are at the right place?
I am.
Right, let's go for our first ad break. We're going to continue with South African Conversations on the show this morning. The third person regarding this trio, of course, is Hazel Naponia, but we're going to talk to her right after the break. Hazel Naponia is the third person in this trio, and she's also here to talk to us about South African Conversations, what it means, how to reach out to people, how to make people understand what South African Conversations are all about. Understand you're new to the team, but you're delighted to be a part of this team, are you not?
Absolutely.
Why is it so important for you?
So when I first actually came across this job, I thought finally we get to tell our own stories. This is an opportunity for me to allow to bring the country together. We know that our country has been historically divided, through apartheid, right through to political divisions. And all these classes or these sectors of our communities don't talk to each other or don't understand each other. This is an opportunity to bridge that divide by telling our own stories.
Let's get back to you then, Teresa. Let's look at the issue regarding these community conversations. Why are they happening particularly in townships, disadvantaged areas? Is there a plan to take it beyond those areas? I had a very interesting chat with you off air the other day when we were setting up the interview, and I liked what you said. Would you like to repeat it for the benefit of our viewers and listeners?
I can't remember what I said then, Julie, but what I can tell you is that, you know, I really struggled with this for the longest time because, as I said, I started these as listening sessions in townships and wanted to look at a way to, you know, to scale this and make it bigger and bring other people in. And to, you know, and I didn't realize at that point that we potentially could pull in advertisers, which is what we do now. Anyway, just I struggled with this for the longest time, how to structure this so that it makes sense. We had offers from two of the big church groups in South Africa to use their churches in the big white towns that are next to the townships. And at first it seemed like a wonderful idea. And then I started realizing, you know, part of what makes the community conversations or listening sessions so special is that there are many dialogues taking place across South Africa. But most of them take place in faith-based buildings or at universities or educational institutions, etc. They're always in fancy buildings. People go there and they get a lanyard and a pen and a notepad and some goodie bag or whatever. And it's for the privileged few. You know, it's not, the mainstream society doesn't get to enter there. And even if they were to enter, most of them would feel so uncomfortable that they wouldn't ever speak up. And my experience in those, you know, those township listening sessions was that I would get a professor sitting next to a gardener, and they're both at ease completely. They both will speak with freedom. There's such a sense of Ubuntu and community spirit in these, you know, in historically disadvantaged communities that really was amazing to me to witness. And so I decided that we will keep it there so that we can give people the opportunity to be free and to speak up and address their own problems, but also to invite people from the, you know, the big white economic center that is invariably attached to the township or whatever, that it's, those people are invited into the township or into the informal settlement or the rural area where very poor people live, so that they can witness the reality that people struggle with. And the other main reason was to bring money into those economies, into the township economy, instead of letting the money go to, you know, the big building in the fancy town. That's basically it. So we will keep it there.
Teresa, I've been wondering about this particular magazine and magazines as a whole. We know that in South Africa, and I should imagine globally, the print media is on the decline. Why have you decided to go this route? Do you truly believe that people would go out and buy the magazines and create, obviously, you know, the wealth or create sustainability in the townships or disadvantaged areas that you are actually targeting?
So the magazine is of interest to all South Africans. It is written in such a way that it's you know, our readers come from all walks of life. In the beginning, I thought this would be just for a sophisticated English-speaking audience, and I've been amazed. I mean, we have letters from Afrikaners to Zulus from all over the country, of people just, you know, phone calls, people appreciating what we're doing. And understanding, because no matter that we, you know, we may have so little in common with each other, but we all have a vested interest in making our country work. And this magazine or this publication is about exactly that. And just to clarify some misconception, we are not for sale in shops. We are only for sale via unemployed people. And we do not sell in the townships because the magazine doesn't sell there. It sells in affluent areas. So, and our distribution network is through participating NPOs. So those NPOs earn money. They get 20% of the cover price. The sellers get 50% of the cover price. And the balance of that money comes to us and we pay for the printing. And, you know, what sustains us is advertising income. The magazine is for sale.
Sorry, you believe that that model is sustainable You have
Yes.
two ladies sitting in studio with me who've told me they've been recently employed by you. And I must say that our off-air conversation was very interesting. They're very excited to be part of your team. And there's so much of enthusiasm, and they do believe that this will work and it can work. So just to share that with you. However,
Thank
your
you.
thoughts
My thoughts on what?
regarding the sustainability of your model? Your financial model regarding South African conversations.
Yes. So, there are many key players in here that will make this possible, and they all need something that we have to offer. So if we look at the NPOs, many of NPOs operate without almost any source of income. There are many gogos in townships who look after orphans, or who look after people with disabilities, for instance, or who provide some kind of non-profit service. Many of them operate on their old age pensions, for instance. And what we're doing is we're making an opportunity available for that NPO to generate income. This is the possibility that exists, okay? So we know from experience that it is possible for a seller to sell between 6 to 8 copies of the magazine if they work, and we recommend that they do that 5 days a week. If they are in an affluent area with high levels of foot traffic, they will do that. We've had sellers selling 10 copies an hour. That was at Northcliffe Corner, by the way. But, so it is absolutely possible. It is a very high level of affluent traffic for people to sell that. And the minimum order that the NPO can place per seller is 150 copies. That enables the seller in 5 days of work per week, and they can do more if they want, to generate 3,750 Rand for themselves and their family. So that is a substantial income for many South Africans. The NPO for that one seller gets 1,500 Rand. Now, if they had 10 sellers, all that they need to do at the beginning, and we provide the support, is go to the local mall or the local art gallery or the local, open air market or some event that's taking place, whatever, to say, will you allow us to position a seller at your entrances? So, if they have 10 sellers, they would make 15,000 Rand for that month. It is absolutely possible. So that need for income will absolutely drive what we do. And our minimum preprint order is for 300 sellers, and we believe that we will make that with the NPO signing up. And then the advertising support from many advertisers, because it is a fantastic opportunity to get the publication out to everybody across South Africa who uses what we use. So, soap powders and cleaning materials and telecommunication services and internet and whatever, banking, food, all of those things can be in our publication, support what we're doing. And because we are a BEE level 2 company, they get scorecard points out of that as well. So I think it is absolutely sustainable. We can only make sense of this at scale. It doesn't work when we work with small quantities. And I believe it's possible.
Well, good luck with that. And let's go for a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to be talking with Hazel and Tsepiso a little more about this initiative. Welcome back. We're talking to the trio this morning regarding South African conversations. Teresa Miller, who has zoomed into the conversation from Cape Town, and in studio I have Tsepiso and Hazel. But let's cross over to Hazel now. With your years and years and years of experience in the space of publication and being an editor, why do you believe that South African conversations, what do you believe makes it different from other publications, and that it would attract people to want to buy the magazine called South African Conversations?
Well, that's a very good question, Auntie Julie, for a number of reasons. For starters, what makes South African Conversation magazine unique is that you're not politically driven. What we do, our conversations, sorry, are not based on what the government does or what the government doesn't do. Rather, these are conversations that are at the heartbeat of all communities in South Africa. And these conversations connect each and everybody socially. The other unique selling point is that our magazine is actually sold by unemployed South Africans. This is us helping to upskill, but also create sustainable income for unemployed individuals in communities. Sidestepping as well, the usual retail selling distribution model. This income actually goes straight back into the seller's hands. But also it gives the NPOs opportunities to gain income as well. So through the selling of the magazine, they recruit sellers who then sell the magazines, but they also get 10 rands from that. They also gain income from that. And from the model that Teresa has written up, there has a potential of making at least 1 million rands per annum, should they be consistent in their selling. So that's the unique model. That's the uniqueness of the magazine. But it also gets the people's voices heard. And those that we deem the other, their voices are also heard through the magazine.
So let's talk to you, Tsepiso, with your very strong social work background. What do you believe should be the type of content that goes into the magazine? How many magazines, and perhaps I should be asking Teresa this question, how many editions have already been printed and sold? But in terms of a social work background, how do you get to the heart of the people? What type of story should be in this magazine?
Yeah, so how we structure the conversations happen once a month, on the last Sunday of the month, and that's how the first Sunday of the month. Sorry, and so that's how they structured. And so each conversation happens. Right now the plan is that we will have 30 conversations, for instance, in 30 different locations. We want it all over the country, and so in terms of the theme, we'll carry like the same theme for the whole month, and that's where we will discuss, issues that are at the heart of each and every community, right? So we will cover issues on human rights, issues on child protection, and so what we try to do is also look at, what are topical issues right now? GBV. So those are the types of conversations that we want to have, because our conversations, like I said before, are more geared to solutions as well, right? So the reason why we will have the conversations are let's not just talk about them, but what solutions as communities can we come up with? Instead of waiting for government to do this for us or somebody else to do this for us, what is it that, after that conversation, what solutions can we come up with that would work for that community? And I think then within the year, we would cover several of those topical issues and issues that are really at the heart of, a lot of the problems and, ills that we see in our communities.
And will those solutions then, for example, in the first edition, several issues were raised. You touched on GBV and poverty, etc.
Yes.
And you asked solutions. The whole idea is to be solutions driven. Yeah. So when and how will you publish those solutions? How do you believe that will reach your target markets?
Yeah, I think also how the conversations also relate to the magazine is that. The conversation and those issues, solutions, would then be translated into the magazine, right? And so this is where, Hazel was talking about the fact that then we need to get those magazines in the hands of the NPOs, because if they're done through the NPOs, then the NPOs are able to also, get a hold of, what communities are saying, you know, because NPOs are at the heart of bringing in all of those solutions. So we're hoping it's going to be an integrated type of system, right? So that's how, yes.
Teresa, do you have anything to add to that question?
I'm so sorry, what was the question again, Julie?
The whole idea about the conversations is to be solutions driven. How are you going to disseminate those solutions to the people, you know, to the people where it matters most?
Yeah. So the people who film, the team that films that community conversation in their community, they have the right to publish that video on their own social media platforms. And then we get copies and we will compile a documentary from all of the videos that come from across the country. So that video will be available on our social media, that documentary. And also the content, as Tsepiso said, will become articles in the magazine with their little resource boxes. And of course, it will absolutely affect the resource directory. The content will go into the resource directory. I don't think that is the problem. I just want to, while I've got the platform, just say to you that, you know, the combined income of just 300 sellers that could be, even in one city, never mind across the country, is 1,125,000 per month.
Wow.
Or 13,500,000 annually. And it's comprised of compassionate people's small change. So our experience with people buying the magazine is that their first purchase is that they would buy it because I think on the T-shirt it says, you know, this is, I earn half the cover price or something. The seller's T-shirt says that. So people buy that as a compassion purchase. And then we get calls to say, I can't find my seller, I want to buy the magazine. You know, things like that. It is, people really appreciate the content of the magazine because it makes it so clear what can be done if you are stuck with a particular situation, you know, for individuals, for families, for communities, for concerned onlookers, for policymakers, for businesses that want to, you know, help provide a solution towards the particular issue. Anyway, so yeah, I hope that answers the question.
It does, yes, thank you. Let's go to you, Hazel. Let's talk about, Teresa has been talking about the resource directory. And I see one here on the coffee table. Talk to us more about the resource directory and why is it so important as far as your business model is concerned?
So before I talk about the resource directory, can I also add in something about the magazine?
Of course.
In terms of how it also impacts the community. Besides the selling model that benefits the sellers and the NPOs, we also do not employ journalists. What we do is we curate content from people within the communities, so aspiring writers, photographers, and we pay them for their content. So that's another area where we actually invest or work with the community to uplift the community. Now, coming to the resource directory, like Teresa had said, that it started off with just a couple of pages and then it grew and it eventually grew into a resource. This ideally is a handy book. It's called the Google the Google of South Africa. The Google of South Africa. It's a handbook that is been made, that is very resourceful and remarkable, has remarkable content of NPOs and organizations that are on the ground. This helps people in civil societies, teachers, librarians easily get in touch with the resources that they need. But also, they don't pay to have their businesses published here, but it's also a marketing tool for them. That's where the dream of the resource is.
And where does one find the resource directory? Having said that, we also know that millions of South Africans never use the internet.
Yes.
Because they don't have data or access. But let's hold all of those thoughts and go for another ad break. When we come back, we'll talk some more about the resource directory and lots more. So stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking South African conversations, and up to now, Teresa, Hazel and Tsepiso has given us quite an overview or a good understanding of what South African Conversations is all about. It is a magazine. It is also a tool whereby unemployed people can get back their dignity and earn money in the process. I mean, Teresa has given me some figures that made me fall off my chair here. I can't believe that, you know, this is the potential of South African Conversations. And does that also mean that when we talk South African Conversations, we are talking to the heart of the matter, the issues that impact on the people the most, the underprivileged, the unemployed, the disenfranchised? And I think the answer to that is a resounding yes, yes, yes. But let's get back to you, Hazel. Let's talk more about the Resource Directory. It's quite a thick book.
Absolutely.
And do advertisers have to pay for appearing in the directory?
Yes, for advertisers, yes. But we don't charge the NPOs for listing in the Resource Directory.
So how does one get hold of a Resource Directory? Do I just go into any supermarket and buy one off the shelf? And also the shelf life of the directory, the information and the advertising that you have in there. Is it relevant for 3 months, 6 months, a year? How does that all work?
Well, the information is timeless. Okay. These are organizations that have been running and continually running on the ground. It's not available on the shelves because our distribution model is through NPOs. So they are sorry. So Teresa this is Teresa's dream. So she will talk more around the Resource Directory.
All right, let's bring you in here, Teresa, because it seems like we need more information from you.
I am so sorry. I didn't know that I could be heard.
No worries, no worries. That is what makes TV, live TV, so interesting. Carry on.
Okay. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry.
Please don't apologize.
Yeah, the magazine has, I mean, the Resource Directory has been for sale for retail. So it's been in Exclusive Books and CNA, and I can't remember where, at independent stores across the country. The distribution company that we worked with has really severely let us down. So they didn't properly distribute this throughout the country. So where we had people on the ground, we have ambassadors that work with us that also get this. So where we had ambassadors on the ground, the libraries absolutely gobbled them up. Educational institutions bought them, social workers bought them, NPOs bought them, and once an NPO bought them, so they buy them from us directly also, but once they have bought a copy, you know, within a week or so, we get an additional order for 6 or 20 or 30 copies for their staff, because the book is such an invaluable resource for people on the ground. So the book is available via our website. And right now we have a fantastic offer for anybody who's interested. The first edition you can buy at 350 Rand. It's actually not a buying. We have a crowdfunding campaign on www.thunda, that's spelled THUNDA.FUND /tackling poverty, one word. So it's www.thunda.fund /tackling poverty. And if you make a contribution of 350 Rand, you can get a copy of the Resource Directory couriered to you. It normally costs 375 Rand plus 99 Rand courier delivery. So this offer is available until the 25th. You can do that via our website also. It will take you to the Thunda Fund web page, or you can go directly to Thunda Fund. So that is available. Our second edition, we're working with a different distribution company, and the publication will be available in far more bookstores across the country. And also, hopefully, we'll sign up more libraries so that the book is available to people who cannot afford to buy the book. I just want to say that, this is such an incredible resource for people who need the information and who do not have meaningful access to the internet. So we really want to make an appeal to benefactors and corporations who can buy the book and get it to communities that need the information, because the people on the ground don't have the money to pay for a book like this. But if we can get this into schools and community centers and police stations and clinics and, to teachers, etc., across the country in poor areas, it would be such an invaluable resource for them. If you go to our website and you click on, so it's southafricanconversations.co.za, and you click on directory on the menu bar, there's so much feedback there from what people have told us about the book and how they use it. People tell us it's not a book, it's a library in its own right, or it's like a university, it's an education in its own right. And we often hear this is like Google in print for South Africa. It's just tailor-made for South Africa. So yeah.
In terms of updating the directory, Teresa, as I'm looking at it, it's on the coffee table here. It's quite a big book. How often do you think that's going to happen? And let me just stretch over and get hold of it and take a quick quiz. And oh gosh, lots of information in here, general and otherwise.
Yeah.
Very interesting indeed. But how often would you kind of update it on an annual basis?
Yes, yeah. So, it's kind of, you think of the yellow pages, the old yellow pages,
yes. I was thinking exactly that when I picked it up and went through it, but I didn't want to voice my opinion. No, that is absolutely marvelous. Let's talk to your two new ladies that has joined your team. And what were your first, let me ask you first, Hazel, your first impressions when you looked at the resource directory? And for people watching us this morning, we started talking about South African conversations, and now I'm talking resource directory. What would you say to them? What's the difference between the two?
In terms of the directory and...
Why would I go to the directory and why would I buy the magazine?
Oh, there's a stark difference between the two, although they feed into each other. But your first question is, what are my thoughts? What were my thoughts about the directory? So I actually came across this directory before I even started here. And when I first opened, I had nostalgia. I remember the yellow pages.
I thought
I'm
exactly
from that
that.
era.
Yeah.
I'm from that era, nostalgic. But it opened a totally different world for me, because all of a sudden I had all these resources. I was working in the civil justice sector, and I had all these contacts, and I didn't even know certain organizations existed until I came across this resource. So it became my Bible in terms of the work that I do. Yeah. But the difference between the two is that the magazine feeds off from the conversations. So we carry through the conversations, community-led conversations through the magazine. Plus we also, like I said, we work with our communities in terms of building sustainable income, plus also building skills. Unlike the resources directory, it's more information orientated. So it's to share and equip other organizations and those working in the sector. Yeah. That's the difference.
Your thoughts, Tsipiso?
On the resource directory.
And the magazine.
And the magazine.
And I ask you, ladies, the question because I know that you've just joined Teresa recently, but you all come with very, very strong intelligence, deep intelligence, from your own backgrounds and your fields of study. Yes. And I'm trying to think how you connect up with this.
Yes. Obviously, I think for me, it's the fact that the resource directory, and I'm thinking about all the times that I've worked in, NPOs all over the country and in the government sector, right? If every office had this resource directory, it would make life so much easier, right?
In one respect.
For all of us, as maybe for the social worker, right? Because there's a lot of information in terms of referral, right? So a lot of the time as a social worker, there's some way where you can refer this client, they need specific assistance, but you don't know where. And you start Googling. right? So, but these are, you know, the resource directory is structured in a way that, you know, if you look at that, it covers animal welfare, it covers every topic, health, that you can think of, women, men and boys, right? And so those are resources that are in the community. And so when you're working in the community, it's very helpful to then go to the directory and then look up, because some of the resources in the directory, you know, might not even be accessible. Like we say, a lot of South Africans do not have access to the internet, or they don't have data. So it's very helpful in that way.
Okay, Teresa,
can I add something? Sorry, can I
very
add
quickly,
something?
because we have to go for an ad break, if you don't mind.
Okay, I just want to say that, you know, the feedback that I got from, for instance, social workers, here's one specific piece of feedback that I got. This woman said to me, you know, I sit with a client in a township and there's domestic violence. And what I know that I can do is take her to a police station and get a restraining order. But I know that there are so many other problems. There's food insecurity, there's malnutrition in the family, there's drug abuse, you know, there's unemployment, there's unbelievable levels of poverty. And she said, you know, previously you're stuck in the
Okay,
township.
let me interrupt
there's no
you there.
connectivity.
Let me interrupt you there, please. We've come to the end of the show. Your final thoughts, very quickly, please, if you don't mind. Teresa,
Mine?
over to you. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to have taken the time, and thank you very, very much for the opportunity. What I would say is just, you know, this project of ours is so huge, and it has the potential to make such an enormous difference to so many, many families across South Africa. We cannot do this alone. Please join us. Go to our website, explore, see how you can participate, and help us bring this whole thing to fruition and to, you know, maximum benefit for many people across South Africa.
Very quickly, for viewers who would like to support this initiative, who and how do they make contact?
Again, if they go to our website, so South African Conversations, they can contact us. I mean, there is a contact form. They can call us. There's a number on there, or they can email us at talk.to.us@southafricanconversations.co.za. The biggest thing that anybody can do right now is to support our crowdfunding campaign, which they can access via www.thunda.fund/tackling poverty, and that's it. So Thunda is spelled THUNDA, and then .FUND/tackling poverty.
And that's where we leave it. Thank you indeed for being here. Much, much, much ongoing success for the South African Conversations and the Resource Directory. And to you girls, congratulations for joining an amazing woman, Teresa. Yeah. And I know that it's going to be a bright, beautiful, fulfilling future for you all. Thank you indeed. And you and I will be together again next week at the same time. Till then, thank you for your company. Assalamu alaikum from me, Julie Ali.